Tonight's big stories. Storm signals are up in more provinces as Typhoon Jenny moves across extreme northern Luzon.
Both the president and vice president suffer double-digit drops in both approval and trust ratings. That's according to the latest Pulse Asia survey. Pulse Asia President Ronald Holmes joins us later in the program.
And tennis sensation Alex Eala closes out a successful run in the 19th Asian Games, walking away with 2 bronze medals. We'll be speaking to Alex later on.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lake.
I'm Danny Laurel.
And I'm Sean Yao. Let's kick things off with a weather update. We have Typhoon Jenny gaining strength as it tracks northwest over the Philippine Sea. The typhoon was last spotted by Pagasa some 485 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes, with wind speeds of up to 190 kilometers per hour. Jenny is expected to steadily intensify as it moves northwest, reaching its peak tomorrow and slightly weakening before it exits the Philippine area of responsibility sometime late Thursday. This typhoon will continue to enhance the habagat, bringing occasional rains over the western portion of central Luzon, southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao for the next 3 days. For now, signal number 1 is up over in Batanes, in Cagayan, the northern and eastern portion of Isabela, Apayao, northern and central Ilocos Norte, and the northeastern portion of Abra.
In other news, dark clouds on the horizon as well for President Marcos. The latest Pulse Asia survey showed Marcos suffered a significant drop in his approval ratings. The survey, conducted from September 10 to 14, found that only 65% of the 1,200 respondents approved of the president's performance. That's a 15 percentage point drop from his 80% approval rating back in June. His approval rating declined across all regions and economic classes. The biggest drop in approval rating can be observed in Class E, or the most vulnerable sector of the economy, which is down by a whopping 29 points. It's not just the president. The approval rating of Vice President Sara Duterte also went down double digits by 11 percentage points for her, taking Duterte to 73% this September. It's the same story for House Speaker Martin Romualdez, whose approval rating dropped from 52% to 41%. This means he no longer enjoys majority approval across all geographic locations except in the Visayas. In Mindanao, in fact, his numbers tumbled 15 percentage points.
And Supreme Court Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo's approval score also declined by 11 points. Among the country's 5 highest officials, only Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri's approval score dropped by single digits, from 56% in June to 50% in September. Now, as for trust ratings, which is different from the approval ratings, both Marcos and Duterte's overall trust scores also declined by 14 and 12 points respectively. However, both continue to enjoy above 70% numbers, with 71% of Filipinos still trusting the president and 75% the vice president.
Now let's compare Marcos's approval rating to that of our past presidents well into the 3rd quarter of their 2nd years in office. You can see here that among the past 4 presidents, Marcos's predecessor Rodrigo Duterte showed the highest performance rating in the same period, that was at 80%. Now, former President Duterte enjoyed high approval ratings throughout his term. Noynoy Aquino, meanwhile, gained a 78% approval rating in September of 2012, while Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo's performance was approved by 41% of Filipinos in September of 2003. This continued to drop in the next years of her term, hitting around 14% before she left office. Joseph Estrada, meanwhile, saw a 50% approval rating in 2000, the year that he was impeached for corruption.
Okay, to help us make sense of these figures, we have with us on the show Ronald Holmes. He's the president of Pulse Asia Research. Busy day for you, Ronald. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, let's first put this into context. This double-digit drop in approval ratings and trust ratings for both the president and the vice president, is that a common thing? Is that normal a year into their tenure? Is that something you've seen with previous administrations?
We've seen it before, except that this one, if you look at it, basically all the top officials drop at the same time significantly. This is not what we've seen in the past. In the past, you'll see a substantive change, decline in the approval rating of the president, but the other officials would not show the same drastic reduction. So this is, to me, as far as I can recall, this is a first where you have the top 5 officials declining substantively from survey to survey.
All right, this survey was conducted between September 10 and 14, Dr. Holmes, and we all know that prices, of course, have been going up a lot. The biggest decline, of course, was also in the biggest number of respondents that you surveyed, which is Class E, D and E. Is that, you think, the reason behind the disapproval?
Well, I would say that it's part of the reason, at least one of the reasons. We see this in terms of the developments that we noted in the media release. You have an increase in terms of headline inflation from August to September. But more than the increase from August to September, we've had substantive increases in terms of prices of basic commodities, more specifically rice. Before we did the survey, there was also a record of 9 weeks of continuous increases in terms of gasoline prices, and this would have an impact on all the other things that would basically be dependent on gasoline. So yeah, it's one of the factors, but of course, another factor that you can consider with respect to the president is that he has made a commitment in the past that the price of rice would be reduced to 20 pesos. But within this quarter, we saw that it was far from realized when the price ceiling that was set, or the controversial price ceiling that was set, was double what the promise of the president.
All right.
But sorry, let me just actually point out a difference though. So to set the record straight, what Sean was talking about was 29 percentage point drop for President Marcos in that period for Class E, right? But for Vice President Sara Duterte, we're talking about a drop in the Class A, B, and C segment. So how do you explain that discrepancy?
Well, it's not so much a discrepancy. It's really something that we've seen also. This one we've seen in the past. You have a president that is, to a certain extent, to a greater extent, being held accountable for some of the difficulties that people are having. We've had vice presidents in the past who had higher ratings, or where the changes in terms of the approval ratings are not as, the erosion is not as significant as that of the president. So we've had vice presidents with higher ratings than the president. You can cite, for example, Ella Pestada at the time of Fidel Ramos, Noli de Castro with Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and Jojo Binay with Noynoy Aquino. So it's not distinct. The vice president may be viewed more positively because the vice president's portfolio is definitely less than the portfolio or the responsibility that the president carries.
Okay. But more to the question of Sean, no? Has there been examples in the past wherein prices were through the roof, inflation was high, and the approval rating did not actually drop? Or is this, can we just say, it's a one-to-one issue? If the rice prices go to 20 pesos, everyone will be happy and be happy with the president?
Well, there was a study that was done using data coming from another survey organization. This is the Social Weather Stations, and they found out that essentially the sense or the self-assessed quality of life of Filipinos, if it declines, definitely impacts their appreciation of the performance of top officials. So in that sense, my short answer to your question, we've had cases in the past, based on our own survey, when there's a economic difficulty, it definitely erodes the people's approval of the performance of the president. The last time this happened was under the immediate past president, Rodrigo Duterte. The first decline he suffered was in September 2018, when the same thing happened. The price of rice was really higher.
Dr. Holmes, in your survey period, the other incidents or the other events that you took note of that happened in that time were budget deliberations, where, of course, confidential intelligence funds took center stage, as well as the incidents over in the West Philippine Sea. You have, increased instances of Chinese swarming activity and also the standoff at Ayungin Shoal. How big would you say these two incidents had? How big of an impact, rather, would you say these two incidents had on the survey ratings?
Well, the deliberations that we covered that came before the survey period were deliberations on the budget as a whole. This did not include the deliberations that led to further questions on the confidential intelligence funds of specific agencies, or more particularly the CIF of Vice President Sara Duterte. So that was not covered by the survey per se. So it's hard to measure how that will impact public opinion on the performance of the Vice President. That might be covered in the subsequent quarterly survey.
So
With
wala pa
respect,
to, this
wala pa.
results,
It's not,
wala pa.
that came
Okay.
later. That came later. It came almost at the end of the month, right? That was only last week. We had the deliberations in Congress, and you had the Vice President appearing in the plenary deliberations. There were some discussion in terms of the confidential intelligence funds, but it did not go to the extent that you had a confrontation between the sponsor of the Vice President or the Secretary of DepEd's confidential fund that was live streamed or even reported in media before the survey.
Doc, what is the concrete impact of these numbers? Will it affect anything? The way, I don't know, the foreign investors maybe look at the country, or what can you say that the numbers concretely determine?
Well, it may have an impact in terms of how investors would react, no? But I think the greater impact here would be subsequently if government doesn't do anything in terms of resolving many of the issues that we're confronting right now. This is a snapshot of how people perceive or assess the performance of the administration. If we see the same decline in the next quarter, then that means that the administration, the people do not think that the administration has taken that much effort in terms of addressing their problems. And that's bad. More often than not, when you have a decline in terms of public appreciation of the performance of the president or the top officials, it may result to some form of instability. And that instability may also affect our economic growth or development for that matter.
And then again, Dr. Holmes, last questions. Same for both heads of Congress, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri and House Speaker Martin Romualdez, both seeing declines in approval ratings as well, although of course much bigger for House Speaker Romualdez. How common is this? Sabay pa sila.
Parang it's like the entire government, both the executive and the leaders of the legislature, and even the Supreme Court. And this is the one that's actually perplexing. Why we see simultaneous decline in terms of the approval. I would think that the Senate President and the House Speaker's approval can be associated with the President because they're allied with the President. So in that sense, we can say that, Senate President Zubiri's single-digit decline is actually quite significant from using the survey margin of error. And Speaker Romualdez' decline is 11 percentage point. So I would say that that is associated with the President's approval, reduction in terms of approval, because people will really see them as allies, no? As essentially collaborating, and that collaboration is not probably from the perspective of many Filipinos that has not necessarily improved their quality of life within the last quarter.
Do you think a very quick follow-up lang,
Oh,
no?
nga naman. What does Chief Justice Gasmuda have to do with the price of rice? Diba?
Exactly. But very quickly lang, no? So Miguel Zubiri, of course, has suffered the least decline in his numbers. Does that mean the Senate is the most trusted, kumbaga, government institution at the moment? Can we just put it as plainly as that?
No. It's just that the decline is less than what we see. Maybe it's just a measure in terms of what they believe is how he has performed his duties as Senate President. They might, because we're asking them the performance rating of these individuals given their particular positions. So you cannot compare the performance rating of the Speaker of the House with the performance rating of the Senate President. It's easier to manage the Senate. There are 24 members. It's harder to manage the House, right? There are more than 300 members there. And people might not necessarily understand what the House Speaker would do compared to, let's say, the Senate President. And the senators tend to be more nationally known than, let's say, district representative. Speaker Romualdez is a district representative, although he occupies the speakership.
Okay, well, we're just going to have to see how they fare in the next survey. We'll hope to bring you back on at that point in time. Thank you so much for joining us, Ronald Holmes, President of Pulse Asia Research.
Now, just how much money was poured into Davao City's confidential funds when Vice President Sara Duterte was the mayor? Now, this post by former Finance Undersecretary and economist Chelo Magno has been trending all over social media. Now, based on the information she gathered from the Bureau of the Local Government of Finance, Magno shared details about the confidential funds of Davao City when VP Sara was still the mayor. Now, from 2017 to 2020, the largest allocation of funds for Davao City were for confidential funds. Now, those are the blue bars on the bar graph. 294 million pesos in 2017, 420 million pesos in 2018, and 460 million pesos each year from 2019 to 2022. Now, in comparison, the budget for health services in Davao City only increased during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, in all the mentioned years, it is noticeable that confidential funds were even larger than the city's education budget. And because of this, ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro urged the Commission on Audit to investigate the staggering figures.
Kinukwenta-kwenta ko nga, mga 1.2 million a day yung ini-spend for confidential expenses. So tingin ko ay masyadong malaki ito. No wonder bakit siya nanghihingi ng ganun kalaki din na 500 million na confidential fund ng OVP. Kasi tingin natin parang nasanay na siya na meron siyang ganitong confidential fund.
Meanwhile, Senator Risa Ontiveros, on the other hand, wants to expose in the Senate the annual 460 million pesos of confidential funds of the Davao City government. She claims that it is even larger compared to Makati, Manila, and Cebu, which are undoubtedly larger and wealthier cities.
So, what did the DILG have to say about all this? Let's find out from News 5's Rainiel Pawed. Rainiel, what do you have for us?
Sean, Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos says that LGUs are allowed to have confidential funds as long as they do not abuse it. Abalos emphasized that by laws, LGUs are allowed to have confidential funds as long as they will use it as part of their peace and order and public safety plans. The former Mandaluyong mayor said the peace and order programs of LGUs addresses a multitude of challenges, including crimes, terrorism, and even threats to the environment and human security. The camp of Vice President Sara Duterte, meanwhile, has yet to release a statement on the said matter. Sean.
Thank you so much for that update. News 5's Rainiel Pawit.
After the break, fresh off her impressive run in the 19th Asian Games, we'll be speaking to Filipina tennis star Alex Eala. That and more when the big story returns. Stay with us. back. You're watching the big story here on One News.
Now, it was a big day today for some of our athletes competing in the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. First up was Filipino weightlifter Heidelin Diaz, who fell short of a medal in the Games, settling for fourth place in the women's 59-kilogram division. Diaz lifted 97 kilos in the snatch and 126 kilograms in the clean and jerk for a total of 223 kilograms. This was 4 kilograms behind Chinese Taipei's Huo Xingchun, who took home the bronze medal. Bagging the gold medal was North Korea's Kim Il-gyong, who lifted a total of 246 kilograms, a new Asian Games record. Meanwhile, Chinese Luo Shifang, settled for a silver. That was a total lift of 240 kilograms. Isa pang sayang, the RP Blue Girls fell a couple of runs short for a podium finish in the Asian Games after falling to perennial powerhouse Chinese Taipei 3-2 in the battle for bronze. This is now the third straight Asian Games where the Philippines placed fourth in softball. And finally, some good news. Gilas Pilipinas bounces back with a dominating win over Qatar 80-41 to officially enter the quarterfinals in the Asian Games. CJ Perez and Junmar Fajardo scored 12 points apiece for Gilas in the win as they now prepare for regional rivals Iran. That match will be tomorrow at 12 noon. Now here to talk about her Asian Games stint, we have none other than Asian Games bronze medalist and junior Grand Slam titleist Alex Eala. Alex, congratulations on the win and thanks for joining us. How do you feel? How was the whole journey?
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. Well, I'm super on the moon right now and didn't expect to do as well as I did, and so many positives from last week, so I'm just trying to enjoy the moment.
All right, well,
How was that semifinals with world number 23 Chen Qinwen of China? What was going on in your head? Were there any nerves in there? And how did you prepare for this match?
There were a lot of nerves, actually. This was the first time I had been up against someone that high ranked, and of course in her turf, in China. So huge crowd, big court, but in the end, the energy, I loved it, and I loved being able to compete at that level. And I don't think I get to do that as often as of now, and hopefully I'll bring that side out of me more and more.
Wait, you mentioned that you don't feel like you get to compete on that level often. Alex, I read a lot of your accomplishments on the news reporting about your Grand Slam. How different was this from all these W25s that you played in, or W100s that you play all over Europe?
Well, definitely. This is my first time playing against someone who's like 22 or 23 in the world. So it's she's a big player, and although I have had my fair share of big matches and big players, I think this match in particular I was able to bring out a level of tennis that I hadn't seen, or I knew was in me, but I hadn't have been able to execute. So it was a huge learning experience for me, and I think it was a step up and a reflection of how much work I've been doing.
We also have to point out that you're the first multiple medal winner in this Asian Games. Of course, it's still ongoing, but I think could also be likely that you may be the only multiple medal winner in this Asiad. And let me just say, on behalf of my co-anchors, we're so very proud of you that, Pinay Power and all of that. But going into this, what was your mindset like? What had you hoped to achieve for yourself?
Well, I really didn't know if I was going to get a medal. Asia, there's a lot of players in Asia, and I really didn't know how far I was going to go, and I knew the contenders were really strong. But I'm super happy with how I played, how I came back and dealt with all the adversities that came this week. And I think I owe that to my family and the team, especially, for supporting me through those tough moments.
This was just your first Asian Games too, diba?
Yes, this is my first. This
So-
was my first Asian
So
Games.
now, does that make you look forward to well, the succeeding Asian Games? Does that make you go into it thinking, oh well, I've done 2 bronzes now. I can keep, aiming higher.
How's
Silvers,
the vibe different
golds.
also for the Grand Slams? Like, is it any different in terms of
It
level of
is.
competition?
The vibe is different. I have to say, it's a different. Because you're also traveling with a team, a team of players, and you're wearing the country, of course. So I think it's quite different, and you really feel that you're playing for something that's more than yourself, and to be in an environment where almost every single person is an athlete or related to sports, from different backgrounds, from different sports. I think it's something that you can't really get in Grand Slams or other WTA events. Yeah.
So
Was
more
the pressure, like,
pressure?
yeah, was the
Oo
pressure
in
that much
sense.
more? Like
Oo
wearing the
eh.
flag, seeing
Yeah.
all your fellow athletes across all other sports.
As compared to playing the Grand
Yeah.
Slams, or nga naman, you're playing for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a little bit of. I think everyone's going to feel a little bit of pressure, but I was able to turn it into something fun. And I think it was important to just enjoy a tournament that happens only once every 4 years. And syempre, I don't know if I'll be able to go to the Olympics, right? So I think it was really important for me to live in the moment and enjoy this experience.
You also look like you had fun playing doubles with Francis Alcantara. How was that? Or is mixed doubles something that you're looking maybe to explore some more in the future?
Yeah, I love playing mixed doubles. And especially with Kuya Nino, it was fun. He made it fun. He's very experienced and a great doubles player. But unfortunately, on the tour, there aren't a lot of events that will, that have mixed doubles that you can join mixed doubles in. And the nice thing about these Asian Games, Olympics, or SEA Games is that they do offer mixed doubles, which is why I always tend to choose that event, is because I find it a lot of fun. Yeah.
Give us an idea of what your life is like now, because you were, based in the Rafa Nadal Academy, you were in Spain, and then now you're all over the place. Give us an idea of your schedule, where you're actually living. Are you spending time in the Philippines still?
Well, so I've been based in Spain and training there since I was 13 years old. I'm now 18. But I occasionally go home. It depends on my schedule. I have a tough. It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of competing, and it can be difficult sometimes to find time to come home. But I know that this year I'll be spending maybe the whole December at home for preseason. I'll be training there, so I'm super excited for that. Other than that, usually it will be my parents or my family who will come over to me and spend time with me wherever I am.
All right, what do you think about Philippine tennis, Alex? We have been touting you for so long. For so long, we haven't really heard anything big come out of Philippine tennis. What is your personal goal to push the sport further in the Philippines beyond my 2 co-anchors here who are avid fans, of course? Do you see something big happening, or do you see yourself coming back home in the future and doing something here?
Well, I think right now the biggest thing I can do for Philippine tennis is to further my career and inspire others. That's really all the power I have right now is to inspire others to make a change and work hard in their own journeys, right? So I do believe that Filipinos have a lot of potential, and we're hard workers and we're humble. So I think we can produce great tennis players with more opportunity.
I'm inspired when I play on the tennis court. I'm inspired, except that ship has long sailed for me. But road to the Olympics. So you said, at the moment we don't know if we're going to qualify for the Olympics, but what are you doing in preparation or in possibly trying to land the berth? I know you have to win multiple tournaments from here on out, no?
Yes, well, since I didn't get gold, because if I were to be gold in Asian Games, I would have gotten an
Automatic.
direct acceptance to the Olympics. But since no, I think the cutoff would be to be sure in the draw. I think you would have to be around 70 in the world in the WTA ranking, and I'm around 190 right now.
Which is
So,
still something to
medyo
be very
malaki
proud
pa.
of course.
Yes, I am. I'm very proud of my ranking, but medyo malayo pa yung yung 70. So you just have to keep working, and if it happens, malay mo, it will. If it happens, then I'll take it.
So does that mean you and your coach are still focusing on the Paris Olympics or Nina, or you've moved your shifted focus to other tournaments?
Well, I think my focus is right now is on the more short-term tournaments. Like next month, I'll be competing again, or in 2 weeks actually, I'll be competing again. So that's really what I'm focusing on right now. And since malabo pa yung Olympics, I think that I try not to think about it first. Try not to make it such a huge priority, but because of course the requirements for the ranking. But then if I can, I'll do everything I can to get my ranking closer and closer and closer. But I'll try not to make it affect me so much if I don't get it.
Alex, can you give us an idea of what a typical training day is like for you? Do you still go to school? Is that still there or on the horizon somewhere? Do you train every day from like sun up to sundown? How does that go for you?
Well, usually in a normal weekday, I'll train maybe 4 to 5 hours of tennis, and I'll start around 8 in the morning, and then I'll finish around 12 or 1, and then I'll train maybe another hour in the afternoon, depending how I feel. And as for school, I just graduated high school a few months ago, and I'm trying to really go full speed on my tennis career. But I do plan on studying again in the near future, I hope.
Once you've gotten all the Grand Slams.
What do you do for fun apart from tennis?
I enjoy muna na wala pa akong school.
You mean college?
Wala pang college.
University.
Yeah, university. Pero online. I don't plan on taking the whole shebang. Like you go in person. My priority right now is
Of
obviously
course.
my career. So I'm going to. But I do know that for me, education definitely has value. So I am looking into that, but I just don't know when I'll start.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah,
Kay
enough
tennis
on your
muna.
plate.
What else do you do for fun though? I mean, it can't be just tennis
Do you
all
have
the
other
time.
hobbies? Do you have other hobbies, Alex?
Do you do
Oh my
yoga?
God.
Maybe like, I don't know.
Kasama na yun lahat sa tayo. Running, yoga, stretching, I don't know. But I like to watch Netflix. I don't know, I'll bake occasionally.
Break
But,
point.
I can't do it that much because it's bad for the diet. I'll go to the beach because madaming beach sa Mallorca. But mostly it's a tennis kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. How do you keep sane, with all the pressure? We watch these shows on Netflix where a lot of the women are under so much pressure. This is a sport which is very, very mental.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very mental sport, but I think the biggest thing for me to be able to keep my feet on the ground is that I'm surrounded by my team and my family, and they're able to guide me through this whole journey, right? And I think also being in the academy, I'm able to just really focus on what I have to do. I have the right people surrounding me and a good atmosphere. And I'm always reminded of where I want to go and why I'm doing what I do.
Alex,
teka lang.
Teka, may tatanong ako. Serious to.
Teka, wait. Mag-chismis
Hindi ako makikichismis,
But
actually.
before you do, I wanted to ask, just for myself, what's Rafa Nadal like?
Oh,
Does he actually coach the students in the
he just seems
academy,
like
or is he watching?
Coaching, no, he doesn't coach the students, but he
No
will
time.
hit with them. So,
Okay.
especially the boys. Yeah, si Kuya nga has, my brother, like my older brother, has hit with him many times. And
Oh,
so
wow.
he's really nice and down to earth. And I know that can be hard to believe, but if you approach him at the right time, syempre there's a right time to do it. And, you have to also respect his training and stuff. But he's always smiling and he's saying hi and nangangamusta. So, it's still hard to believe that I'm able to see him train like firsthand, like almost every day. But it's super good for all of the players at the academy to be able to observe and learn new things from him directly. Yeah.
That player you most look up to, male or female?
Oh.
Oh.
Who do you want to
That,
be
that
when
is,
you grow
that
up?
is, I thought you said
ba Nadal?
Si Nadal, di ba?
Hindi na ba?
Hindi na, because now you
It
practice with him, now you train with him.
Female or female could be.
Medyo hindi cliche.
Female players.
Okay lang kahit cliche. Cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah, that's true. Well, of course, Nadal has always been one of, the people that I really looked up to. And for women, I really looked up to Lina and Maria Sharapova when I was younger. So they're really, I think they show a lot of professionalism, and on court they have a lot of fight.
I just wanted to ask, since you came on the scene, this tennis ace, like they were like so young back then, and then you left the country to train, and we know that your family is the one supporting your training and everything. Has the Philippine government stepped up and provided you with any more support, apart from moral support, of course, as you progress in your career?
Yes, they have they have supported quite a bit, and I think I'm very grateful that they're they're helping me on my journey, and I think that's it's a big help. Yeah.
Right, that's good to hear. Love life, wala?
Yun na yung
You're 18.
chismis.
Yun na yung
Sabi,
chismis.
yun na yung chismis ni Sean.
She was
Okay,
whispering to me, kailangan mo itanong kay Alex about yung love life. Or tennis muna?
No news on
Alcaraz.
that. No news. Nothing worth mentioning.
Kayo talaga. Busy na nga.
Guwapo dyan.
She is so little time, di ba, Alex?
Oh yeah,
Or
focus muna
unless of course you meet someone on the court. Baka
that you
naman.
can hit with or doubles partner.
She's not budging. Okay,
Alright.
we are gonna leave it there.
Congratulations once again, and thank you so much for joining us, 2023 Asian Games bronze medalist, Alex Eala.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Alex. Right, these chismosas are going to pause for a quick break. Right after that, former President and now House Deputy Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo is facing new graft and malversation charges over her alleged misuse of the Malampaya Fund. The details when we return. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News. Former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo is facing a new round of complaints over supposed misuse of the Malampaya Fund. Electricity consumer groups Nasicor and Bosses ng Consumer Alliance filed complaints for multiple counts of graft and malversation against Arroyo. That's in connection to her realigning 38 billion pesos from the Malampaya Fund to finance other government projects. The groups based their complaint on a Commission on Audit report that flagged the transfer of funds as improper and non-compliant with existing laws. They cited supposed realignments to fund agriculture, transportation, and cash subsidy projects that are unrelated to the energy sector development, which is what the fund was meant for. They also accused the former president of abusing Presidential Decree 910, which had a provision granting the president powers to determine the use of Malampaya funds for other purposes. Arroyo had already been cleared of involvement in the 900 million peso Malampaya scam back in 2016, but the complainants argue that this only covers fund transfers to the Agrarian Reform Department, whereas this latest set of complaints cover the entire 38 billion peso Malampaya Fund disbursements throughout Arroyo's term.
All right, here's some tragic news from abroad. A Filipino domestic helper in Saudi Arabia was found dead with multiple stab wounds. The victim was identified as 32-year-old OFW Marjoret Garcia. The Migrant Workers Department says that Garcia was found dead in the city of Al Khobar and that the agency was notified about this on September 27. The suspect is Garcia's workmate, a Kenyan national whom the Saudi police believed was jealous of Garcia. The suspect is now under the custody of Saudi authorities.
Well, initial investigation lang ito kasi si paborito ng kanyang paborito ng kanyang amo. So nagkaroon yata ng konting inggitan, pero yun ang naging sanhi kung bakit nangyari ito. Gawa rin ng kanyang kasambahay na ibang nasyonal.
Garcia started working in Saudi back in 2021, and her family says that they last spoke to the victim on September 15. But before the incident, Garcia had mentioned to her family that their employer kicked out her co-worker for bad behavior. The Garcia family is hoping for the immediate repatriation of the victim's remains.
Now, prices of cooking gas are up for the third consecutive month this October. Liquefied petroleum gas or LPG is now pricier by up to 3 pesos and 75 centavos per kilogram. This translates to an increase of more than 40 pesos for an 11-kilogram tank. Auto LPG prices will likewise go up by over 2 pesos per liter. Now, other retailers have yet to announce their respective adjustments, but they are expected to implement an LPG price hike this month. According to LPG companies, the hike is primarily due to the approaching cold season in other countries.
Ito naman is historically, every time that we are on the Burr months, talagang ito yung usual na trend ng LPG pricing, because this is the last, we call it the 4 months of every year na nag-stockpile yung mga bansa na may winter season. So dito nag-start yan sa Burr months. That will be up to December. And then the price will start to go down starting January next year.
And up next, 2 researchers credited for the development of the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine won this year's Nobel Prize for Medicine. More on that when the big story returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
It's a big win for medical research with two professors behind the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine earning the prestigious Nobel Prize. Hungarian Professor Katalin Carico and Pennsylvania University's Drew Weissman were recognized for their research on the life-saving COVID vaccine manufactured by Pfizer and Moderna. The Nobel Prize jury acknowledged the two for their contribution that led to the unprecedented rate of vaccine development against COVID. The 2023 Nobel Prize winners in physiology and medicine will receive a diploma, a gold medal, and a $1 million check from Sweden's King Carl XVI Gustaf in a formal ceremony on December 10th.
Just before we go, here is our big picture on this Monday night. That is the Bawal Bastos sticker that the LTFRB distributed to PUV drivers in preparation for the holiday peak season. These stickers serve as a reminder for the public to immediately report harassment in public transport vehicles, noting that such acts violate the Bawal Bastos law. Meanwhile, the LTFRB has also extended the validity of special permits to address the lack of transportation during Undas. These permits allow provincial buses to operate on special holidays. Special permits are now valid from October 20 to November 6, which means that their validity is now for 17 days, which is much longer than the usual 3 to 4 days in previous years.
I guess that's good, no? But,
It is.
One thing.
Unjust vexation
Oh,
law.
exactly.
You can kind of pala for that.
Yes,
I just learned that
there is a
recently.
law.
But I wanted to point out that the conversation we were having internally about today's big picture was supposed to be that app.
Yeah, that
For-
makes you look baguettes.
Yeah, like which none of us understood, by
everyone
the
looks-
way. Like, turns out you have to
Everyone
pay
looks
for
bad.
the app.
Oh, you pay it? No.
Sabi.
I'm sure there's a free version that everyone...
So you really have to
And then
pay.
I guess you upload your photo
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And that makes you, that
Younger.
is throwback to the 90s, right?
Yeah, it is.
Diba?
You know what? I've seen a lot of people post it over the weekend. And
Yes.
some are really good.
Yeah.
Some are a
I
bit
never
weird.
would have, if there hadn't been too many people doing it, I would never would have suspected that it's an app.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it really looks
It
like
looked
them.
real to you?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, they
it looks really nice. I mean, it makes everyone look better than they
Exactly.
probably did. in
I
high
saw
school.
though,
I mean,
my
high
friend's
school
son was
pretty-
going, Mom, how come you don't look this good anymore?
Okay,
so
we have a
tired.
pic. We'll show you one pic. I don't know who this is, pero...
Okay. I know who it is. It's Jay Tarok.
Okay, let's show it. Let's show it. Let's show it. Let's see if
Okay.
our viewers can
Right.
recognize them.
All right, can we roll it?
Angela.
That's Angela from
Oh,
1PH.
yeah.
She looks the same.
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that's
it's
Okay,
so
that looks like
nice.
Angela.
that looks the same.
Ang
Can we
ganda.
roll Jay Tarok again though?
Whoa.
The best are the ones without hair anymore, and then the AI brick puts hair
See,
back.
I saw these pictures and I thought they really look. I
Okay,
really
that does
believe
not
them.
look. Oh, that looks like
That was Lord. That's
Yeah,
Lord.
These are obviously. I mean, it's obviously an American developer, right? Because these are
Sino yan?
That's Lord De Vera.
school
that's
pictures
not
from the
Lord.
U.S.
It is. Okay, that was not.
They do look like U.S.
Of course,
graduation
I mean they're
photos.
like you're seeing hockey outfits,
Hockey
right?
jerseys,
hockey jerseys,
cheerleading with pom-poms.
Correct, exactly. Which is
A lot of
very
Britney
US
Spears.
Very U.S.-centric school
Cheerleaders.
You know, backdrop.
Vibe.
Question
right?
is, would you pay to get this
How
app?
much is
No.
it?
I don't know.
Probably a couple
But
of dollars.
Some of the producers are saying $299,
What? Oh, wow,
plus,
really?
or
Ouch,
something. I
medyo
don't know.
mahal, guys.
But you're right. There could be a free version.
Yeah, I'm sure you do one of those things and then you cancel it after.
So I guess we all know
Scary,
what
isn't
we
it?
are going
Again,
to do on the way
AI.
home.
We're
don't
talking
get the
about
point.
this AI,
AI.
again. Very scary because I couldn't tell the difference. I
Talaga?
really
Ako
believe.
naman, it's
Initially, I
like, who's
believed.
this?
All right, that's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.